Hello everyone and thank you for joining me. My name is Eugen and today I will be showing off another unbranded titanium fountain pen. The fifth unbranded titanium fountain pen that I get to show off, and not to spoil it, I have a few more to come in time. I have purchased the pen from AliExpress and I paid around 36 Canadian dollars with free shipping. You can find these fountain pens already anodized, as you can see on the screen. It looks like it was flame anodized, but I do not like the look of what they did. So personally, I chose to go with the non-anodized version, and then I did the anodizing myself. This time I decided to do the anodizing via the electrolytic process by using my DC power variable supply, and I have to say, I am really liking the end result a lot. As a fun fact, if you care about this, there is also a ballpoint version, as you can see on the screen, that seems to be made out of brass. For whatever reasons, I thought that there was a brass version of the fountain pen as well, but I can't find that anymore. Or maybe it was just my imagination. Going quickly through the fountain pen features, basically the entire fountain pen is made out of titanium with the exception of the clip. The cap is pretty straight. We do have a dome top finial on the cap that can be removed, and as such it does allow you to remove the clip. However, when you put the finial back in, it doesn't screw in all the way. There is a very tiny lip between the cap and the barrel. And the barrel, as you can see, it's, I guess you can call it ribbed. Then it ends with a big step up with some threads and then continues straight and with a dome and a little bit of flat end on that barrel. The threads are for posting the cap. It posts actually very nice and very secure, as you will see. Doing a quick shirt test, the clip actually works very well. And this is almost military style clip. You can barely see the pen. All you see is the top finial, which is fairly small, and the clip. Removing it, it's absolutely no issue because the clip is very smooth and made of one piece. Nothing is stamped, so nothing will snag on your shirt. However, you don't get a lot of openings, so you might be limited over what you can clip it. The cap, it's a twist cap. I am not able to twist it in one move. Unfortunately, this cap takes a little bit to take off, most probably above 4 turns. And once you remove the cap, you have a pretty nice section that matches the diameter of the end of the barrel and makes it for a very balanced, at least from a view perspective, pen. And you will get a pretty nice section, a number 5 Moonman nib, and generic feed. Looking inside the cap, as you can see from the endoscope, everything seems to be very smooth. There are no inner liners, and I don't think there will be any issues with ink drying, but I guess we'll see and I'll let you know. The pen uncapped, as you can see, has a pretty nice balanced view. The section, it's almost the same as the end of the pen, and they both have threads, and in the center you have this ribbed section of the barrel. The balance of the pen, it's actually pretty good. It's bang on in the middle, as you would expect it based on this design. The section is fairly nice. It's not slippery. My fingers are gripping very well on the section. You get a number 5 nib, Moonman nib. In my case, I hope it's a fine line. It doesn't really say what it is. And a generic feed. Now, above the section, the barrel meets the section pretty flushed. However, as you go up on the barrel, you will have a pretty steep step up just after the threads. I'm not sure how annoying that is gonna be. I'll let you know in my final conclusions how it's gonna be. However, I will tell you that at least on my copy, the edge is fairly sharp. I mean, it's sharp enough to actually shave off your nails if you really want to. And at the end of the battle, it's the same story. The edge is just as sharp. The threads are actually very minimal at the end. However, the cap does pose very well and very secure. And again, there's a couple of twists in there. And in hand, once posted, the pen for my hand, it's actually not that bad. Based on how I hold it, this is gonna be okay, I think, for me posted. However, if you hold it like this and if your hands are a little bit smaller, might be an issue. And balance of the pen posted, it is definitely a little bit towards the top of the pen. Removing the barrel is very simple. The threads are very smooth, and as a fun fact, you have less threads on the barrel than on the cap. And you get a full-size converter, which is very nice, and it seems to be working just fine. The nice thing about it, it looks like this converter can be taken apart and you can actually service it if needed. And as you can see from the barrel, it's just the same story as with the cap. Everything is pretty smooth in there, so the machining is done very well. I like it how it is. And I guess since it's titanium, if you really want to, you can make it an eyedropper. Just make sure you put a lot of silicone grease on these threads and tie it down properly. And this is the fountain pen. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple, pretty good looking, I would say. Nothing wrong with it. So let's see how it's gonna perform. I'm gonna go through inking, a little bit of writing test, and then we're gonna dive into a drawing. For today's drawing, I will be using the Iroshizuku Winter Shogun or Fuyu Shogun, which has become one of my favorite things for drawing. To fill up the pen, fairly simple: off cap, off barrel, ink bottle, put the piston down, put the pen in the ink, go about halfway up, go back down, and then go all the way up. The pen seems to get a pretty good feel. I have a little bit of an air gap in there. If you really want to get rid of it, there are ways. However, for what I need, this will suffice. This is actually more than enough ink. And the section cleans up very nicely from ink, not a lot of issues. There is a little bit of an edge in here, so you'll have to use the edge of your tissue or a paper towel to remove any inks that is left in there. And doing a quick writing sample, I will first try and do this without posting it, see how it feels. Alright, we have ink. So this is ADC TC4 titanium fountain pen. It looks like the nib on this pen, it's more of a medium. I might leave it like this. Don't think I'm gonna change it. Curious how it's gonna end up with the drawing. However, the reverse seems to sort of work. It's a little bit scratchy and not that good. I'm not sure if I'm gonna use it. We'll see. I might do a little bit of flossing just to see how it is. And as expected, there's no actual line variation. I mean, you can push on it and you'll get a little bit more ink on the page, but the tines don't really stretch. Or better said, they don't spread apart. However, the nib is actually very smooth, actually wet based on what I'm used to, so doing the drawing should be an interesting challenge. And yeah, I think I like it more posted than unposted based on what the right example that I have done. For today's drawing, I wanted to visit an old friend. This is the same king cobra that I believe I drawn from a different angle with the first titanium fountain pen that I showed on this channel. I'll put a link up here if you're curious to see it. I just wanted to see if by any chance my skills have improved a little bit since then, and hopefully I'll get a better sketch out of this snake. If not, well, we'll keep on trying. Things very simple, just a snake with a lot of scales and a lot of shading to do. I hope the nib on this pen is not too thick, so most probably I will be changing it. If it's too thick, I will try on a scrap piece of paper first and see how things are going. And I guess I'm gonna go and dive into the drawing and let you know what I think of this pen. Remember when in the inking up section of this video I said that the ink that I had in the converter it's more than enough for what I had planned? Well, it turns out that what I said was just wishful thinking. I actually ended up using all the ink in the converter and I had to refill, and I still used half of that second fill. This was an extremely fun drawing. I spent almost 4 hours on it and did not realize how fast the time went by. When I finished drawing this king cobra and looked at the time, I realized that it was time to stop. So I had to drop all the stuff that I was planning to do around the snake and just put a solid black background under the snake to give it some ground to sit on rather than leave it float. Have I improved since then? I think so. What do you think? I think it looks a little bit better than last time, but still, I have some room to improve, that's for sure. In the end, I had to change the nib though. The original Moolman nib on the paper that I'm using was still too wet and too medium for what I wanted. There was nothing wrong with the nib, just not suited for the drawing. And since it looks like I'm out of number 5 Moonman nibs, I pulled it out and replaced it with a Hongdang extra fine nib that fitted just right and performed perfect without any modifications. So, after 4 hours of continuous drawing with this pen, well, minus the time I had to keep switching cameras and batteries on the camera, I gotta tell you, it was not bad at all. I had absolutely zero kind of fatigue or pain from the pen. It performed beautifully, and the only time I was annoyed was when the nib went dry and could not figure out what happened. Well, it just turned out it was out of ink. So I guess it's safe to say that at least for me, this is a great fountain pen and I do really like it. What do I like about this titanium fountain pen? Well, I guess the first obvious thing that I like about the pen is that it's, well, titanium at a very affordable price. I like how this unbranded pen shows that titanium is not really that expensive, especially for use in fountain pens, and there is no need for such a premium charge, like other companies have, for just a fountain pen. I just love them and I find it hard to complain about them, especially this one. Additional things that I like, it posts, and posted from my hand the balance is not that bad and not that top heavy. It's okay for me. Like I said, during those 4 hours, my hand was not hurting in any way. However, you are not me, and that's okay. And if your hands are on the smaller size, I could see how unposted might be a better choice. Other things that I like, it comes with a full-size converter, a decent nib, even though I had to change it, and again, well, it's titanium. So basically, if you feel adventurous, you can customize it and make it your own by anodizing it in your favorite colors. Things that I don't like as much on this titanium fountain pen. One thing that I found a little bit baffling is that the clip is not titanium as well. I mean, I get it, reducing costs, so I guess I should not complain that much, but a titanium clip would have been nice. I don't think it would have drove the price that much higher. What bothered me more though is that you have the options to remove the clip, but unfortunately, at least on my model, you cannot tie down the finial all the way in when you remove it. I guess I could just grab a tap and die and finish what they should have done, but still a little annoying, especially for someone that doesn't have the means. And lastly, and I guess this will have a higher impact, the step up from the section to the barrel might be a little bit too high. I will be honest, I thought that would be an issue, but once I dived into the drawing, I didn't even notice that, completely forgot about it. For my hand and grip, that step up was a complete non-issue. However, not everyone is me, so I could see this might be an issue for some people, especially when combined with the fact that the edge on both ends of the barrel might be a little bit too sharp. I mean, it's sharp enough to shave your nails on them if you really want to. However, I guess that could also be fixed as well with a little bit of micro mesh, but again, not everyone might have the means or might be willing to go through that process. And lastly, this is not an ideal pen for quick notes or fast access to write, since it does take a couple of turns to uncap the pen and post if you want to post the pen. This is the kind of pen that you use on longer sessions, drawing or writing, so basically you take the time, you set up for it, and then you just enjoy it. In the end, overall, I have to admit this is one of my favorite titanium pens. I did not expect it based on the design it had. I thought it might be okay, but I did not expect it to enjoy it that much. So from my perspective, I do think that if you get a chance to try it out, give it a chance. It might surprise you. If by any means I have missed anything or you have any other questions, please leave a comment below and I will try and get to it as soon as I can. Please feel free to also leave a comment if you want to share your own experience. We all have different experiences and it'll be nice to hear what other things of this pen. My experience might be different than yours and that's okay. With that said, I thank you for joining me today and I hope I will catch you next time. Wish you all the best and a wonderful day or night wherever you are. Take care. Bye.